Greetings and welcome to this week's edition of Trade Theory here on Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. I guess we're one day away from so-called tax day, so good luck with all of that. This is the dollar chart, and we're going to look at what price has done. So the dollar has actually started to decrease in value over the last several days, and it's actually hit the levels that we had placed back on the 24th of March and the 31st of March. That 4-hour demand level price went higher briefly, and then it started to retreat. So it blew through the weekly and the daily demand level. And if price holds here around the end of the day, I'm expecting price to retreat one more time up to the supply level around the 99.56 area. And then I would expect supply to be, I guess, in abundance. So I expect price to start dropping again. So we hit 99.56, and then I'm looking at a target demand level of 96.96. Now at 96.96, I'm expecting the market to reverse, excuse me, and possibly continue for the dollar to strengthen again significantly. So on the weekly chart, when I'm looking at that, I'm expecting if price does hit this demand level that I'm speaking of after hitting the supply, 99.56, dropping back down to 96.96, and then I'm looking for a possible continuation higher. Price could actually just continue higher straight away, so don't be concerned. Don't be fooled if it does. But price is definitely showing that the dollar has a little bit of complexity to it, but the overall trend looks like it wants to maybe be bullish still over the long term. So, but we won't get too far ahead of ourselves. Like I said, we're at the daily demand level that was set on the 24th of March. Looking for price to move up to the 99.56 area, then retreat to the 96.96 area, and then potentially go higher after that. Let's look at the 10-year Treasury note here. See what's going on there, what yields are doing today. So the same here, we had an area of interest 4.29 on the 7th. Prices, actually yields have actually started to decrease and go below that level. So we still have the weekly demand level that we put up on the 7th as well, where yield should hit at between 4.19 and 4.21%. And then I think that may be where actually demand for treasuries will start to drop. And at that point, I think Treasury yields should start to increase significantly after that, but we'll stop here and see if price starts to yields start to come down to 4.19 to 4.21%, and then we'll assess after that. So expecting some falling yields on the 10-year Treasury is the bottom line. All right, moving on to Tesla. Tesla has started to get active because people are getting really excited, I guess, about the markets. Let me go out to the weekly and see what this looks like. Price has dropped, like we said. It does have some pullback potential here, but we had, like you say, we were looking to short it back up in this area about a month ago, and now price is starting to retreat. So we're going to look at the supply level at 371.89 and see how price closes out there, and then we'll make a determination if Tesla is going to rise or it's going to continue to fall. But right now, Tesla's still looking bullish, so any upward price movement, I'd be looking to short Tesla as it looks right now. All right, moving on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has started to move, and I believe that Bitcoin may be fooling us. Bitcoin is back to that daily pullback point from the 6th of February that we discussed, so that is an important point. But I'm not sold on Bitcoin. I think it's just gathering orders and about to disappoint a lot of people. So I'm thinking that I've got a weekly pullback here as well, a little bit higher, about 75,617.89. So I'm looking for Bitcoin to continue lower at this point. I'm not expecting this major bullish move that everybody is. So if I was taking trades on this, I'd actually be adding to my short position on Bitcoin at this point, at a more efficient entry point. All right, looking on at WTI Crude, prices started to decrease a little bit, hit our daily supply levels that we set on the 31st on the 7th of April. So about a week or so after we set the supply level, price hit 106.19 and fell off from there. And so blew through the daily demand level. So we're looking for another price point of 82.80 before we make another decision about oil. So we're looking for oil to be bearish over the next couple of days. And then if it hits there, we'll watch price. But we do also have a weekly pullback point on this from the 16th of April of 2025 of 71,281. Now, that was back before, obviously, we expected there to be any type of global turmoil like a war. But 82.80 is still valid, so we'll watch price off of that level and see what's going on. But looking for bearish behavior on the on WTI crude in the coming days. So keep your eye out for that. All right, moving on to gold. Gold is actually still moving higher, but I think that's in anticipation of price dropping. So we still have the 5,044.86 supply level that we're looking for it to reach. And at that point, I'd be shorting gold. I think that people are very optimistic about the markets. And you'll see that when I pull up the three indices, the Dow, the Nasdaq, and the S&P 500, you'll see that there's a lot of hope around a rally to the upside. So once we hit that supply level, I'm looking for price to drop further, and I will be shorting gold at 5044.86. All right, looking at the US 30, price has been moving steadily higher over the last several days. Hasn't quite hit our weekly area of supply yet, but we're going to go from here. It's blown a little bit higher. This may be a V bottom. It is technically bullish on the daily right now, and when we look at the weekly, it has not actually cleared where I would say it would be bullish in a real way continuously over several weeks, which is above 50,130. So we're looking at the weekly supply level of 48,748.69 that was set on the 7th of April, and we'll see how price behaves there. If it closes above there, then I'm looking for price to potentially continue higher on the Dow. Dow is just moving. It's just a little bit more lethargic than the other indices, but these other two actually kind of give you clarity about where they are. So they moved up pretty significantly as well, blown through the weekly supply level from here. And then we have an upside area of interest of 26,187.40 on the Nasdaq. This is the daily chart. So definitely looking for, if price closes above there, then we're looking for a pullback and an entry back into the Nasdaq. So at this point, we just be looking for a pullback anyway, because prices continue straight higher. So we wait for price to pull back at least to, at a minimum, 25,431. So about 350 points off of where it is right now before even trying to enter. But more for me, I would wait for price to get to 26,187.40. Wait for a retreat off of that, and then look for a buy-in on the Nasdaq. And then wrapping up with the S&P, something similar. Price has been moving significantly higher. It gapped up, so this may have to be dealt with. But the area of interest here is 69.7859 on the weekly chart. Let's see how that looks. Price is shot straight up. So if it gets up here to 69.7859, I'm looking for a pullback because it's blown through our weekly supply level. Looking for a pullback and then an entry long on the S&P. So the indices are looking bullish, which is also why I'm expecting the US dollar to decrease and gold to decrease at some point. But because this bullishness has to be tempered by some type of pullback, mathematically speaking, that will be the opportunities where you see the dollar and gold continue higher, hit those areas of supply that we discussed, and then drop. So I hope this has been beneficial to you. Be on the lookout for Vantage Point Macro newsletter coming out in a couple of weeks. And until next time, enjoy the day. Happy trading.